There we go. Thank you, Greg. I always forget about that. So we have a book. Let's see if it'll get it to focus in here. Maybe not. So The Wooden Canvas, there it is a book about arbor glyphs and sort of some of the history along our stock driveways, which ties right into range today, as well as a San Juan Mountains Association water bottle, a nice clean canteen there. So if you would like to be entered in this door prize, please put your name in the chat. You can just drop it right in the chat. You can message me directly. And then if you are interested in staying up to date on any of our programs here on the Rio Grande and with San Juan Mountains Association, we can add you to our mailing list. And if you just message me in the chat your email, I will add you onto our list. So just click that drop down and you'll want to select the Visitor Information Coordinator, VIS Coordinator, and you can message me directly that information. Getting started, this month's topic is stock on the Rio Grande National Forest. So we have Meg Shelley with us. She is the Rio Grande National Forest. She works in the range program up on the Saguache district, and I will hand it off to Meg to let her introduce herself further.
Awesome, thank you so much. We have such a small group here. I'd love to do just a short round of introductions. So, you know, if your bandwidth allows it, if you want to turn on your camera, I'll call on everybody one by one and you can kind of introduce yourself, maybe say where you're from and maybe what brought you here today. And hopefully we can address some of those questions and some of those interests. So Amy, do you want to go first?
Sure. My name's Amy Moran. I have a background in range and I've worked on the Saguache district for a couple of summers. And right now I'm in New England, but hopefully we'll be back in Colorado eventually.
Thanks for joining us. Tristram, do you want to introduce next?
Yes. Good evening. Tristram Post, District Ranger on the Saguache Ranger District. I used to work in range. I had both Meg's job and then I worked in Divide, used stocked extensively. And then while we were waiting for Meg to get back to the district, I did keep the district horse fleet alive until she got back.
Julie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hey, we are Meg's parents. We live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we're just being nosy. So, hi, Meg.
Hi, Mom. Patty, do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Patty, and I was told about your series and used to be a prior horse person. So I'm just listening in. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us, Patty. Bruce, do you want to go next? Oh, I think you're on mute.
There we go. There we go.
Oh, there we go. I do that all the time.
I am multitasking on my stationary bike and zooming along.
Oh,
I'm out here on the Front Range, and I do work with Indian Peaks Wilderness area out here. And last year we did a mine closure, 4th of July, and we used our pack horses to bring all our supplies in. So I'm really curious to see more on this conversation today.
Awesome. Are the Duchesnes on?
What's that?
Oh, I was going to the next person.
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
Hi, Meg.
Hi.
We're part of the Trailwise Backcountry Horseman Club there in Del Norte, enjoying the Arizona winter right now, and just curious to see what you had to say.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us from Arizona. I'm a little jealous.
It's raining.
I guess better than snowing.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Nancy?
Hi, good evening. I'm Nancy Roberts, and I'm with Arrow Point Cattle Company, and I volunteer with Meg when she has crazy rides.
Luciano? Luciano, we're not getting any audio from you. Maybe we'll skip over to Rachel and see if Luch can figure out his audio system.
Yeah, hi everybody. Rachel Hasna. I'm a range specialist on the Rio Grande, and Meg is my boss, and I'm just listening in. Thanks.
Jody, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, it's coming in great.
Okay, perfect. Oh, there I am. Hi. I am a veterinarian, small animal in South Fork, Colorado. I just started burro racing last year, just here in South Fork. I don't do the circuit or anything. But I was just very interested in hearing what you all had to say when I saw the Facebook post.
Thanks for joining us. Esther, do you want to introduce yourself? We're just doing short introductions, kind of why you're here. And
Sure. I'm Esther. I'm just a horse friend of Meg's, and we meet on other Zooms. And I live in Nathrop and have horses, and am interested in knowing more about what Meg does.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah,
Monica?
I'm able to stay for forever because spring break and kids, you know.
Yeah, it's hard having company and being on Zoom.
Yeah.
Monica, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Monica Falk in the San Luis Valley, and I'm with Trailwise Backcountry Horsemen with that chapter. Just wanted to see what's happening from your point of view.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Monica. Okay, I think I've got Hillary next. Okay, we can skip on to Ashley. Ashley, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, sorry, I just got back from the dunes and just got out of the shower. Yes, my name is Ashley Bratton, and I am the president of the Silver Thread Outdoor Club here in South Fork. And so we love all things trail, and we wanted to check you guys out and say thank you and find out what you guys are doing, what you're up to.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Sorry to make you turn on your video when you just got out of the shower.
Sorry. I'm
All
good.
good.
Don't worry, all is well.
Okay, I think Stephanie is our last one.
I'm just a community member in Monte Vista and live part-time in BV2.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us. Did I miss anyone? Everyone's been moving around because we've been turning videos on and off. Okay, cool. Well, then we will go ahead and get started. I have a pretty short informal presentation. Mostly, I just put together all of my favorite videos and pictures from the past couple summers, but I kind of wanted to highlight, I don't know, just I think one of the really cool aspects of working for the Forest Service is using stock and working with stock. So quite a few other organizations don't use that terminology, but when we say stock, we're talking about mules, horses, any of the four-leggeds that help support our programs. So I will share my presentation and we'll get started. Okie dokie. Are you guys seeing the screen?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Okay, perfect. Okay, as Hannah did such a great job introducing me, my name's Meg. I work on the Saguache Ranger District. I worked there for quite a few years seasonally and then came back as a permanent employee as the rangeland management specialist. But I also wear another hat where I am the district stock manager. So today I'm going to kind of focus on training on the stock purpose on the Rio Grande National Forest. And then I'm going to introduce our current stock that we have actively working for us. And so I think one of the coolest aspects of the Forest Service is that we have such a long history of working with stock. And in this modern age, it can tend to kind of fall into a back burner where people just don't have those skill sets. And I think that we have such a huge training program and we bring so many people on to be comfortable working with mules, to be comfortable packing, working in the backcountry, that we're still building those old skill sets that are kind of being lost in a lot of other areas. So our Forest Service is very safety minded. We like to certify people in pretty much everything. So we operate under a stock management plan, and we rewrote this plan in 2021. It's modeled off the Shoshone National Forest. They're kind of known as the horse forest. They have, I think, over 100 mules and horses that they work with, and they have the greatest number of acreage of wilderness. And so everybody, even the wildlife biologists, even the fish biologists, they're all on horses almost all the time. So they have a pretty extensive safety program. And so that's the reason why we modeled our stock plan after them. And so basically our stock plan lines out the roles and responsibilities of different people. So I said earlier, I'm a stock manager. And so this document explains what I have to do, what I'm in charge of, what the forest stock manager is in charge of, what our training responsibilities are, what our safety mitigations are, how we purchase horses, what we look for when we're purchasing horses, how we transport horses, safety measures and certification measures for transporting horses, and all of our regulations with camping. It's kind of an extensive document, but the purpose is that, so across the forest, we're all doing things the same. We are all operating in the same safe way, and that all of our animals are being taken care of in the same way. You know, we really view these animals as employees, and so we really think it's super important to give them the best possible care we can. So we wanted to kind of standardize that across our forests. So our basic horsemanship training is a 3-day training. The first 2 days are at the Sky High Stampede typically, and it's arena based. And mostly we have beginners that come to this training, but they come from all walks of life. So some people are lifelong riders that come, but anyone who wants to use horses or mules with the Forest Service has to go through this 3-day training. So our groundwork really focuses on natural horsemanship, which really helps people understand how horses communicate, gives people tools in their toolbox in case they're having issues. It's pretty simple because we only have a morning really to do groundwork with people, but they really learn, you know, drive zones and how to back and lunge a horse. And then we also go over saddling. So day 2, we talk about trailer safety, how we tie the horses in the trailer, how they load. People have to be relatively experienced before we give them the helm with a full truck and trailer full of horses, but we always give them training opportunities to work on those skills. And then by the end of the day, we have everybody on horseback. They start off in the round pen and get a little bit of coaching in the round pen, and then we do an obstacle course out in the riding arena. And then typically we go out into the yard and kind of do a demo trail ride. And then day 3, we take everybody out into the forest and we do a full trail ride. So everyone is able to use those skills that they've developed over those 2 days in a real life experience. And this is really awesome for people who haven't been around animals, to see what they do with water, to see how you're supposed to act around gates, what riding protocol is, how you interact with the public when you're out on horses. And then we have a risk management assessment, which outlines all of the risks associated with working with stock and how we mitigate those risks. So an example of that is falling off the horse, getting your foot stuck in the stirrup. All of our government saddles are rigged with quick release stirrups. And so in the case that you're hung up or you get hung up on a tree branch, they break off. And so whenever we have accidents happen, we get together and we look at the accident and we try to assess, you know, what situations could we implement that would prevent this in the future. Our top priority is keeping our riders safe and keeping our horses safe. And accidents do happen. These are animals. We put a lot of miles on them. But trying to keep people as safe as possible is really critical for our program. Every rider has to have personal protective equipment. So everyone is provided helmets if they want it, but long pants, smooth-soled boots, those things are really important. Gloves when you're packing. And our certification process is pretty similar to our SAW certification, if you're familiar with that at all. So we have an A, B, and C certification. The A is a basic beginner rider, not really been around horses before. A B is a relatively competent rider. And then we have C, who are very advanced riders. And the Cs are the only people who are able to certify new riders on the forest. So we have a pretty limited group of people that are able to actually certify new people. So one of the best things that I think that we did in our new stock plan is that we built in a program where all of the trainers, so all the C certifiers, get to go to offsite training at least once every 3 years, but we try to do it every year given budget. So this is a great opportunity for our trainers to be furthering their skills, making sure that we're keeping up with the most up-to-date training. This was a great opportunity that we had over in Penrose. This is a Heath Marshall horsemanship training. So we took all of our higher level horses, and he had a really advanced trail course. And so we were able to work through all these really advanced trail obstacle courses with our more challenging horses. And I think we're going to bring back some of these aspects to our horsemanship training that we do with the beginners on the Rio Grande National Forest. This summer, my farrier is going to do a shoeing clinic for the trainers, and so that we're going to be able to learn how to put on a shoe in the backcountry, shoe a horse all the way around, shape shoes, just to build our kind of toolbox out so that we are bringing new information onto the forest and keeping that education really going. So our two main resources that use the stock are really rangeland management, which is what I work in. So we do all the permitted cows, all the permitted livestock on the forest, and recreation. So in terms of range, we do range readiness, where we ride the allotment before the cows get turned out. We look at the vegetation, make sure it's ready to be grazed. We look at water developments to make sure the cows are being ready to turn out. We have quite a few allotments that are out in the wilderness area, so there's no motorized access whatsoever. So we use the stock pretty heavily to work in those allotments. We ride with the permittees. So this is a picture from last summer up in Saguache Park. The cowboy on the black horse is a permittee, and he's moving cows. And we use this as an opportunity to not only build relationship with our permittees, but to kind of see the landscape from the eyes of the cows, see those stock trails that are not being used by the public, and how we can better manage our landscape, and pasture compliance to make sure the cows are in the right place at the right time, adhering to all of our plans, finding the cows in those honey holes that not very many roads or trails go to. And so we use our stock an average of 90 days in range for the summer. So I just compiled some photos from last summer that were, I just thought were really fun. So on the top left, we have, this is in the Conejos Peak District. They are riding a sheep allotment with some permittees. The bottom left is also on the Conejos Peak District. This is one of our range seasonals, Eric, out doing a range compliance ride. The center photo is Amy from last summer. We were riding in to look at a water development in a roadless area and doing some utilization monitoring. The top right photo is from the Machine Lake Basin. We were doing some high lake sampling up there. That's about a 26-mile ride round trip. It's a pretty long day. And then this bottom right photo, this was from packing in the Renfee crew up in the Willow Lake area in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. So recreation is the other program that pretty heavily utilizes our stock program. So they pack in trail crews in terms of Forest Service trail crews that are working in the wilderness or volunteer trail crews. We've packed in VOC, we've packed in Southwest Conservation Corps. They use it as a backcountry presence to monitor the backcountry. They do trail inspections, outfitter guide inspections. Typically we support 2 to 3 backcountry projects in a season, and all of the programs work together. So I'm on the Saguache district. We have the Conejos district in the southern, and so typically when we have a big packing project, everybody brings their own string and we all pack together. So we have a much larger capacity in terms of packing. And as you can see in this photo, when we're loading a mule, it makes it a lot easier when you have many hands. So we are all always helping each other in terms of putting our loads together. So this top photo was that same Willow Lake project. The regional pack string actually came down, and they're out of Cody. They have maybe 20 mules. It's a huge string. And they packed the crew in, but then when they came to pack it out, there was a huge snowstorm that came in, so we could not get the mules up the trail. So locally, we were able to take 2 trips about 2 weeks later and pack out that crew. The bottom left is up in Saguache Park. We packed in a Southwest Conservation Corps to do some trail work up there. They were up there for about 2 weeks. This middle photo is from Middle Creek. This was a VOC crew that we packed in, and they actually built that trail, that bridge to the left of the horse during that project. And then the right photo again is from the Willow Lake project. So they, Renfee was up there for a total of, I think, 5 years in a row working on those 14er trails to make them safer. So it was a pretty huge workload and packing project. So some other programs that they support is fire. So last summer we packed in the Hidden Lakes fire. They were talking about bringing in a helicopter, and said locally we were able to support them with a few mules and pack in water, so they were able to put out this tree fire. One of the major pluses of using stock instead of using air support is human safety. Fire has the air support is the most dangerous things that they do. And so by being able to support them on the ground with mules, we're not putting any more people at risk. Also, it's significantly less expensive to use, 2 mules than a helicopter. So 2 to 3 times a year, we also do high lake sampling, and that gets sent off to a national lab that looks at air quality. So they look at a ton of different things in the water, and they're able to pair that with the air quality and be able to say how we're doing in terms of air quality. And we've also supported high lake fish packing before, where we've packed fish up into the high country. Okay, so these are the horses on the Saguache Ranger District. So the far left, that quarter horse, his name is Cash. He was just retired this winter. He was a foundation bred quarter horse, and he was about 22 when we retired him. So Cheese is a draft cross. He came to us about 3 or 4 years ago, and he is a great mountain horse, loves to walk out and can walk all day long. Rio is one of our beginner safe horses. He's in his 20s as well, and he's just really solid. So Samuel is one of our older mules. He is on the retirement list, hoping to retire soon. He is, I think, in his mid-30s, so he definitely has some age on him. And then Chip is our youngest horse. He's 7, and he is a quarter horse, and we bought him up at a sale in Greeley last spring. And then our newest member is Winnie. She is about a 14-2 mule, and she packs and rides. So these are some photos from the Conejos Peak District. And so currently we do not have an active stock program in Divide. Lisa McClure was like the long-term ranger, wilderness ranger down there. And when she retired, a lot of the mules retired with her, and then I ended up inheriting some of their horses. They just didn't have the expertise or the interest anymore. But we've just hired someone new, and I'm hoping that we're going to still be able to revive the stock program over in Divide. When there is need for stock in Divide, both Conejos Peak and I support them in terms of packing and taking people out on horseback. So these are mostly range photos. The top right photo is from horsemanship training a couple years ago. And so these are some of their horses on the Divide District, the Conejos Peak District. So the buckskin up front, his name is Junior. He's one of our beginner safe, really amazing horses. He packs and rides, does it all. So Joe is one of our mules down there. They call him Slow Joe. He will pack anything, but he is extremely slow. And then Royd is one of their older mules that is extremely solid, will pack anything. He's really great. Ruth is one of their more newly acquired mules. She packs and rides. And then Smokey is one of their favorite horses that they have down there. He's really solid. And then the photo on the left is Charlie. That's up at San Francisco Lakes. That was at our horsemanship training last summer. And that's Luciano. He's the rangeland technician down there on him. And then Nitro is one of their other horses. So what do we do with the horses when they can't work for the Forest Service anymore? We have been really fortunate in terms of finding really good retirement homes for them. When we do not have a hard retirement age, we have found that horses really age very differently in terms of how much longer that they can work. You know, Sam is in his mid-30s, but then Cash, we retired when he was 22. So we work pretty closely with our vets to try to determine, you know, what quality of life they have, you know, how much work that they can sustain. We have found if we can retire them when they still are sound and they still can work a certain capacity, we're much more successful in finding good homes for them versus if we wait until the point where they are lame and too old to really work and can only be a pasture pet. It's a little bit more challenging to find good homes for them, but they are able to stay on the Forest Service pasture for as long as they need to until we're able to find a good home. So this horse, his name is Derby. He was retired 2 years ago, and now this little girl's name is Antora, and now he is Antora's horse. And so he works pretty lightly, but is a phenomenal fit because by the time that they're at that age, they can really tolerate a lot, they know a lot, and they can really teach the kids a lot. So they really make phenomenal kids horses. So we've been really lucky in terms of homing our horses and in good homes that are lifetime homes for the rest of their lives. They have given so much of their lives to the Forest Service, and we feel major responsibility to make sure that we find good homes for them at their end of life care. So here's another picture from that Willow Lake pack trip. This is the scree wall. Anyway, do you guys have any questions? Oh, I see that the chat is, oh, everyone's introducing themselves.
Hey, Meg.
Yeah, hi, Monica.
Hi, just ask a question.
I would love that.
How can the public help out, or what's the correlation between the public interface and what have you with the Forest Service and the stock use?
Well, I'd say on the Saguache Ranger District, we utilize volunteers pretty heavily. We don't, so C and B, I'm fairly confident B riders can also ride by themselves. So you have to be pretty highly qualified to be able to go out onto the forest by yourself on a horse. But that's really not our first choice, just because if in the event of an accident, it's much safer to be with someone else. And that's true whether you're on an ATV, or on a horse, or hiking. So a lot of the times we don't have very many qualified people on the forest. And so I have quite a few people who volunteer with me and come and ride so that I have someone to ride with in the case of an accident, that we have two people to support each other. So that's a great way to support, is to volunteer with your Forest Service. If you have horses and like to ride and like to see some new country.
Okay. And what about do you have any dates for the horsemanship clinics that you were talking about in the beginning?
So I think the second week of June is when we're going to put on our horsemanship training.
Okay.
Hi,
Ashley,
this
do you
is
have a
Ashley.
question?
I do actually.
Great.
Piggybacking on top of what she just asked. So in bringing back the horseman, or bringing back the program to the Divide District here in the South Fork area, how can we support that here, since the program is being brought back to life, if you will? Like, what are specific needs that we can help out with?
So I would say, especially on the Divide District, they would be needing horse volunteers because so our new rangeland management specialist that we hired down there has quite a bit of stock experience. She's grown up on a ranch. But but in that office, it's minimal. And so, you know, it can be challenging when you're on a more advanced trail to take beginners with you that don't have much experience. Sometimes it's a better fit to take a volunteer that has quite a bit of experience and can not necessarily be a liability on the trail.
Right, but that's true. The reason why I'm asking, there's actually kind of a small horse girl community here. Several of them are on the search and rescue team here with the fire department, and so I'm wondering if that would be a good connection point to connect some of them with with your person that's starting up the program here, and seeing if that is of any kind of service.
That would be phenomenal. And I mean, I think also the stock program is relatively expensive because horses are expensive, farrier bills are going up. And so when the region is looking at the budget, often the stock program is something that seems to be in excess, and it's an annual fee. You know, it's not like you can just not feed your horses hay during the winter time. And so seeing the support from the public is a huge proponent of supporting this program. I personally feel like it's a kind of a legacy deal where this is an important part of our history and we need to be cultivating this, and it's the best way to get a job done a lot of the times. But Kelly Garcia is our stock manager down on the Conejos Peak District, and I guess he's actually the forest stock manager. Luciano is the district stock manager. And he's been really integral in terms of this becoming a forest level program and it being supported on the forest level. But any support that we can have from the public in terms of showing that it's important to the public to have the horses out and about. I mean, I can't think of the number of times I've been out riding in the backcountry and people are like, we didn't even know the Forest Service had horses. We're so impressed to see you 20 miles in the backcountry. This is so amazing. Like, we're so happy that you guys are out here, like, doing your jobs. So like any support that the public can offer, if you think that this is a valuable use of your taxpayer dollars, is phenomenal.
Sure. Yeah, I live not too far from the Ranger District here on Beaver Creek Road, and we used to always see I called them the penny ponies. They look like shiny copper pennies. They always looked very well cared for. And I've seen them in a while, and so that answers my question as far as what happened to them. But also, yeah, we are all for getting that program back here if there's any way we can support it. So maybe we can talk offline and connect names and that kind of thing.
I would love that, Ashley. And luckily, all the infrastructure is still there. And so really, we're just looking at buying some horses to go back into the program over there. But I do think that she's going to be struggling in terms of finding people to ride with over there. So I think that could be a great use of
let's connect horse girls. Yeah, on the search and rescue. That'd be a good connection. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Meg, can I ask you to stop presenting so we can
have
a little more intimate of a conversation?
Okay, wait 1 second. I have one more picture.
Oh, okay. I apologize.
No worries. It's just really cute. I don't want to miss it. So this is one of the Region 2 pack string. So when we have really big packing projects, we call them the regional pack string, and they have the 20 mules. And so this is one of them up on Willow Lake. I thought it was pretty cute. Okay, is that better, Greg?
Much.
Thank
I think
you.
we can have a more intimate conversation this way with everybody.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I also appreciate the questions coming up, and you guys, I'm giving you with a verbal pause here, not a verbal pause on my part, but giving you the opportunity. Meg, I had the distinct pleasure to work with the regional pack string for many years ago in the early part of my career. And I tell you what, there's nothing like loading mules up at a cow camp and marching them 15 miles into the wilderness to work on a stock driveway. Some of the best days of my career were working with the regional pack string. And Man, what you guys do, I know is not easy because I was just one of those guys loading, but the folks like you had to handle that stock for me, and I was grateful because I couldn't have done it.
They're pretty dialed. They have really well-trained mules. I mean, and they pack things that most people would never pack.
This I've seen. I mean,
Yeah.
culverts and I mean everything. It's crazy just to see a 15-foot culvert coming down a trail on the top of a mule is quite the sight. All right, any other questions or thoughts, comments? We love it. Let's be interactive today.
So I guess I had one more thought to go back to what Ashley was asking. The Backcountry Horsemen, Trailwise, and the Pagosa Backcountry Horsemen has also supported quite a bit through packing projects and trail work. I know that the Pagosa Backcountry Horsemen has packed in quite a few trail crews in the Weminuche Wilderness, and the Trailwise Backcountry Horsemen has done quite a bit of trail work up at Wheeler and San Francisco Lake. So those are other areas. I mean, not necessarily supporting the packing program, but I mean, on our forest, we have a limited packing support. Luciano, myself, and Kelly are all range comms, and so we only have so much time that we can spend packing in recreational crews. And so that's been an awesome way that they've been able to support our program while it's packing in some of the recreation needs.
I was curious about the certification, Meg. Since you're thinking of doing the clinic in June, and if there's any work or any kind of projects that would be before that, is it possible for some of us to ride with you, even though we're not certified?
So if you're a volunteer and you're riding your own horse, you do not need to be certified with the Forest Service. The only case like you would need to be certified with the Forest Service is if you were going to ride a Forest Service horse.
Gotcha. Okay.
Could we have a link for like the horsemanship clinics or something like that? I'm sorry, I joined a little late. So
No
I might
worries.
have missed
So typically the horsemanship training is like agency specific. So we bring in the BLM, we bring in the Park Service, we bring in the Forest Service. We have had backcountry horsemen come before for some of our packing clinics. If there's a case where a volunteer does need that certification, they would be more than welcomed, but it isn't like necessarily like a public training opportunity, if that makes sense. It's more of like an internal training for employees.
Okay. So I'm actually on the San Isabel side. But our ranch, we want to be more supportive of the Forest Service and our national forest that we have. We're like a mile from the Rainbow Trailhead. So one of the Rainbow Trailheads. So would something like either like the regional pack trips or something like with you guys, would it be open to hosting like a luncheon where you just more or less like kind of like this, but you're talking to horse people in person and kind of doing like an info thing? Is that something that, or is the season so busy that it wouldn't even be?
I think that's a great idea. And I hesitate to speak for Pagosa because I know that they use stock heavily over there, but I'm not sure what their rules and regulations are quite as well as on the Rio side. So I'm not sure if they utilize volunteers over there in terms of like volunteer riding, or if they only use them as pack support. But I think it would be a great opportunity to all get together and talk about how we can, I mean, really, we're talking about better benefiting the national forest and all of our public lands and how we can, do a better job taking care of them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of where we're at. We just want to support in whichever way. And obviously we love horses and we work with a lot of wild Mustang trainers and stuff on our property. So we would just love to kind of pull all that together and, be a liaison or a hub or something that we could kind of support that way.
So I can get you in touch with the Forest Service contact there that works out of Westcliff. If you don't know him, I would be almost surprised. He's been there for over 20 years, and his name's Jeff Uthier.
I'm sorry. Did you say you were on the other side? I was putting you over here.
Yeah, I'm on the San Isabel side, and I do know Jeff. And he would. Yeah, no, you're good.
Well,
So I
that
didn't,
surprised me, Meg. I'll let you finish then, because yeah, I was like, you must know Jeff.
I know Jeff. I was like, I know Byron down in the south, but I'm not sure how much they use horses. So they have kind of an interesting program over there. I do actually know a little bit about them. So the Salida has 2 horses that they've used a little bit, but I would say that they have a major need for support. And
okay.
then Jeff is really amazing mule person, uses mules all, like he kind of just does his own thing. But I would say absolutely, like I would like to see the San Isabel utilize stock way more than they do. I think they have a lot of potential.
Yeah.
So I think that any support that the the public could offer would be huge.
Okay. Well, Jeff and I have honestly, we've been playing phone tag through through most of it. So he's on my list, and it's my turn to tag him back. So I'll see if we can actually connect, because I would just love to connect even other ranger districts in that too, and how we could all support each other. I think that would be super cool.
Exactly. And Angela is the lead range con over there, and she's really supportive of the stock program. It's challenging because you really have to have employees that have a pretty big breadth of experience and a passion for it, because it's time consuming. Otherwise, like we see in Divide, that the program, which was the right decision, they didn't have the personnel in place to support the program. It was definitely the right decision to take a pause. Otherwise the horses wouldn't be used and they'd just be sitting out in pasture for years on end. But not having the right employees in place, the stock program really suffers.
Absolutely.
So luckily we have some crazy horse people on the Rio, I guess.
I love it. No, I love it. I'm all about it. And no, I appreciate
Jeff is definitely a crazy mule guy.
I love it. That's so cool. I do using the mules. That's good. I love it. It's awesome.
Any other questions? I mean, anything on the table would be awesome.
Awesome. Well, if anyone has any more questions, feel free to pop them in the chat and we can definitely get them to Meg. Thank you again, Meg, for joining.
I'll drop my email also in the chat, so that if you guys want to reach out to me personally and set up something offline, you are more than welcome to. I'm always happy to talk anything stock related.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks for everyone for joining us. We hope that maybe you'll join us next month. So next month on April 26th, we will have Doug Clark talking about pollinators. So it'll be that program we held right back here on Zoom at 5 p.m. Again, that was April 26th, and we hope to see you there. And so this month's door prize winner was Jody, and so I've been in touch with Jody about that. And if you'd like, again, to be kept in the loop about our future programs, please send me your email and I will add it to our mailing list. And thank you again, Meg.
So I have one more question that I just saw in the chat from Hillary. How do you get in hold of Jeff? He's like a ghost. More likely to catch him randomly on the trail than by email. Yes, I would say all of those things. So Jeff is kind of a unique character because he is the only person over on that side of the hill. So he wears a recreation hat, he wears a range hat, sometimes he wears a ranger hat. He does every single job for the Forest Service out of that office all by himself. So unfortunately, I don't have any hints in terms of catching him, but if you do get him caught, he's a gem. And supposedly he's retiring soon. I didn't know that, but I figured it was probably all the good ones. You hate to see that happen. You can't replace that character. Sorry. I think that's
I'll second that, Meg. I worked with Jeff for almost 20 years. He was one of them that was running the regional pack string when I first met him up in the West Elk Wilderness on the Gunnison National Forest. And he's as up of a hand as they get. So yeah, I'm hating to hear that he's retiring. It's terrible that I'm hearing it from here too. So All right, Hannah, what do we got here?
I think that's all I have for everyone. Thanks
Will you
all
be
for joining.
Will you be posting Meg's email address?
I just dropped it in the chat.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming. This was really fun. I love an opportunity to talk about my horses and my mules and share all the cool work that we get to do with the Forest Service. I feel super lucky that this is my job and that this is what it looks like.
Yeah, and thank you all for joining, and I hope you enjoy the rest